Good morning, guys. So today we are looking at equilibrium effects of a shift of demand. Okay, if you remember, we said there is a shift in demand, or we call it change in demand and change in quantity demanded, right? So change in quantity demanded is a situation whereby a change in price leads to what a change in a corresponding change in quantity demanded. So that is what we call change in demand. That is what we call the change in quantity demanded, right? And a change in demand, sorry, is the situation whereby at the same price, more or less of a commodity is being demanded, right? And that is also known as the shift in demand, right? Great. So we are going to look at situation. So supposing we have, I'm going to call this market for pork. Market for pork. Let's say this what we have here is market for pork, and we have our this is the quantity, and this is the price. This is the price or P, and this is the quantity demand. This is our quantity supply. This is quantity demand. This is our quantity supply, right? Suppose we have equilibrium price of pork is 3.3 euros, and the quantity demand was 220, right? Now let's look at what happens. We are looking at a shift in demand, right? So supposing there is also another market that let's say beef, and let's say the price of beef has gone up, right? Now, if the price of beef increases, right, and let's assume that price beef and pork they are substitute, right? Great. So because the price of beef has increased, right, customers from that market are going to shift because they can substitute, right? Now they are going to shift to that of what pork market is okay. Now what it means is that at the same price of 3.3, people coming from the pork, from the beef market, the consumption of pork is going to increase, and that will cause the demand curve to shift. So let's say I'll call this as let me call this so let me call this demand curve 1, right? And let me call this one only supply curve. Great, right? So that is going to shift, right? Now that means the demand curve will shift from here up to D2, right? Now, so what it means is that now because demand curve has shifted, right? And then that means demand for pork has increased. That is why it is being shifted. And because the change in demand is not as a result of a change in price of the pork itself, but right, that change in the price of beef. That is why it is shifting, right? So because demand for pork is going to increase and it's a shifting, it will cause new equilibrium price. So let's call this one equilibrium level 1, right? It is going to cause the new equilibrium price to be established at what a higher price because the demand has increased. So let's call this point E2. And let's see, we have this here. So at new equilibrium price level, let's say 3.50, right? And this, let me call this one, let's say 228 here, right? It's okay. Great. So this becomes the new equilibrium level, right? But we are looking for the demand. So let's say now you trace from here to here, right? So let's say then I will bring it down here. And let's say I have this to be 232. It's okay. Now then what it means is that then the difference between the 232 and 220, right? So that becomes 232 minus 220, right? That is going to give you what? 12, right? It's okay. So this 12 here in this case represent the excess demand as a result of what? The increase in price of beef. Now because price of beef has increased, now we've had 12 customers from the beef market now coming to purchase what? The pork market, coming to purchase more pork. Is okay. Now this becomes the equilibrium level 2, which is also 228, right? So this is new higher equilibrium is established as a result of change in the price of beef, right? However, we are not looking for the new equilibrium level or equilibrium market, equilibrium price and not quantity, which is supposed to be this and that of the 3.5. However, what we are looking for is the effect of what? Change in price of beef on the quantity demand for pork. Now, what we can say is that because the price of pork has increased, right, it has led to what? An increase in our demand for pork from 220 to 232. That is increasing. The excess demand is now 12. It's okay. So this is how you analyze effect of what? Shift in demand. Now you can as well do the same thing for shift in the supply curve, which I will do later on.